Resume recording. There you go. They did do a great job of PR. And so one of the things that they did 2 years ago, just starting last year, was they enlisted me and our team as the National Charity Outreach Coordinator for charity recruitment in an effort to help charities get the questions that they need about the campaign, how it's changed and what the cost benefit is. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have 20 people or so. You're welcome to unmute yourself, raise your hand, ask questions. Ken and Kathy will be working on the chat, and we'll try to run through this in about a half hour. Very sensitive to everybody's time. I don't like when we'll stay on as long as anybody has questions, but I certainly do like when if I'm on a webinar and they give me 20 minutes back in my hour so I can go dive into my email before my next webinar starts at the top of the hour. So we'll get started. I have some slides because you can't do a Zoom call without slides, and we'll go through those and as a way to trigger a conversation. I'll jump to some web pages and turn it over to Ken as often as possible so we can engage everybody. One of the things that it's important to do right off the bat is acknowledge that the Combined Federal Campaign, 60 years of raising $8.3 billion for nonprofits. But if it wasn't for the participating charities, you wouldn't have a Combined Federal Campaign, because you don't give to the CFC. You can't give to the CFC individually. You have to select a charity. And it's the work that you do, that the charities do as part of the Combined Federal Campaign, and that the charities do and communicate to the federal employees, inspires them to give. So the CFC must continually thank charities for their program and for partnering with the Combined Federal Campaign for these last 60 years. We're going to talk today a little bit about how the campaign works. The 2021 current campaign, the campaign's ongoing right now. In fact, Kath, if you want to put in the share, here's the campaign website. It's givecfc.org, and everything that federal employees need, volunteers need, charities need is right here on GiveCFC. So it's an excellent website. It has, if you're a participating charity, that right there down at the bottom, it has all the resources for charities to use, to learn from, how the campaign works, how to promote yourself. That's on the front page of the Combined Federal Campaign. Each of the zones has its own website. And to look at that list, this is how the campaign is divided up across the country. There are 36 zones. I run 11 campaigns. Ken's up here in Alaska, and then we run kind of everything down the central time zone from 11 down to 18, including 15, 14, 26, 27. So we are currently running a campaign, 16 states, 500,000 federal employees, about 1,000 active accounts constantly that we're contacting with our team. And the good news is the campaign this year is up as of through last week, Giving Tuesday week, which is a huge week for all you guys. I know that. The campaign was up about 10% over last year, which is an excellent tracking mechanism for us. There's campaign runs until the 15th of January. And what happens up for the first 2 months is the campaign. We do a lot of training. Ken, how many trainings did you do this year up in Alaska? And then how many cross-zone trainings do you think we did of federal employees and charities?
Oh, I did at least 8 trainings between coordinators and what we call key workers, and cross-zone. Oh my goodness, we had quite a few. I would say at least 6 cross-zone. And it's again to train to make you effective as a charity within the program of the Combined Federal Campaign.
So the campaign is off and running. It's doing well this year. It runs through the January 15th. Right now, we're getting into what's called $1 million days. There's about they'll raise about 80 million, 85 million this year. And we're at about 30 million right now. So there'll be $1 million days for the campaign each day for the next, all the way through the 15th. For charities, you apply to participate and you engage the federal community. And when I say engage the federal community, we have a lot of opportunities for charities to get on virtual events. There are some face-to-face events that are coming back, depending on where you are. One of the big accounts that we work with face-to-face, as you might imagine, is USPS. We have down in North Texas, there's about 185 USPS events going on right now over the next month, where charities are going to go in and engage federal employees, USPS folks at their workplace. So those are opportunities. And then also engaging the federal community also starts with your ability to submit videos and stories to federal employees for them to watch. So here's the list of the charities, and each charity has the opportunity to submit a video. Videos are uploaded. You can use them again year after year. They're about a minute long. They have to be 508 compliant, but we were doing an event last week, 2 weeks ago. The event was having federal employees and their kids get together and bake cookies. And we had some charity videos that were played. Yes, that's me in the turkey costume down at the bottom. And we had kids, federal employees get together and with their kids and bake some turkey treats. And during that event, we pulled up, had the kids choose CFC issues that they wanted to support, feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless, whatever the kids wanted. We'd take them to this giving site. We'd find the charity that they wanted, let them pick the charity, and we watch that video. So that's another way for you to engage federal employees. You can submit stories to the campaign, share your story, and federal employees can submit stories too. So there's a lot of opportunities in person, virtual, and submitting these kind of materials to help engage federal employees. For every charity that lists in the campaign, you have, and you can go to this giving site and go to donate. And this is where every federal employee starts their account, but here's a find a charity. And this is where you can, let's see, every federal employee gets an opportunity to have their listing. And their listing includes all this information: their website, category of service, 256 word statement, their logo. Feed a Hungry Child's logo needs to be a little clearer. And their AFR, EIN number, address, and all this information. So I think an important component about the campaign is to know that federal employees from across the country, 4 million federal employees and retirees, can give to any charity in the country. Ken, you see this a lot, don't you, when you're talking to charities, where they get money from around the country, Alaska charities especially. That's one of the real excellent returns on investment, don't you think?
Yeah, we have a lot of environmental nonprofits and charities up here, and they resonate. A lot of people want Alaska to remain, pristine, and so they get support from all over the country. And then what you will find is there's individuals that are in your community that have supported you in the past, but they may have moved. We have a lot of military up here, and the military moves, but they remember the feeding facility, Beans Cafe, or they may remember the Food Bank of Alaska. And even though they moved to Texas or somewhere else, they still want to support that organization because they have an affinity and a knowledge of that. So you not only do you have the federal workers within your area or zone, but you have literally, like you said, 4 million potential federal workers that could support your nonprofit or charity.
And retirees. The campaign is doing an excellent job of re-engaging federal employees, retirees, and getting them to give. It was one of the real promises of the campaign when it transitioned from 2016 to 2017 to a national contract as opposed to local contracts for all the local United Ways that were running the campaign. And the retiree giving this year is far outpacing what it's done in prior years. It's almost doubled what it's done in prior years. And again, we still have those $1 million days left. the ability to reach millions of federal employees, a steady source of unrestricted funds when you get these pledges and they come to you monthly, because primarily workplace campaigns, as you know, are payroll deduction gifts. So 95% of the gifts, 90%, depending on the charity, 95% are all payroll deductions. So you'll get a pledge report at the beginning of March, and that money will come to you from April of the following year. So for this year's campaign, it'll be April 2022, and you'll get monthly disbursements, unrestricted funds, all the way through March of 2023. I'll take you to the site where you can track your pledges online, and federal employees can even volunteer time. This is some of the results nationwide from November 15th. I haven't updated this, but it gives you an idea of some of the reports. You're going to be able to see where the money comes from to your agency. So if you do a presentation, Ken, you have a presentation coming up, Department of Interior, and there's charities that are going to present there. You're going to have, in fact, we just got a Department of the Interior National Park Service in Omaha. She's the regional director down there, and she can't wait to attend your event. She's one of the LFCC chairs. So it's going to be region-wide or nationwide. And if you are one of the charities that presents there, you'll be able to go on and see whether you received any pledges that day, that week, from that event, because the national tracking of information, the results that we post to your website, pledging reports, are real time. The day after the event, you'll be able to download those and review where the pledges come from. So it's a comprehensive and completely transparent system. One thing you won't get, though, much to Ken and I's chagrin, is you won't get all the donor names. The donors have to opt in to release their names. Okay, so about 20% of federal employees do opt in, but not all of them. So you'll know where the money comes from for all your pledges, and you'll get about 20% of your donor names releasing. One of the things that is the strength about the campaign is that federal employees tell us they like to be anonymous. They like to be able to give to 5 different charities every year and not have that relationship with the charity follow them. You understand that, we understand that. It's one of the strengths of the campaign, and that's why they only about 20% release their names. Here's some of the stuff I talked about: participating in campaign events, submitting a video, accepting volunteer hours, promoting your participation. The theme this year is Be the Face of Change. Last year, the theme was all about, kind of reminded us of, in fact, Ken, you remember everybody took selfies and posted them to the website because we were all in lockdown. And this year they changed the theme and really tried to encourage and take pictures of people outside, people getting their pictures taken. You can see their hands, a lot of people together as much as possible. This information is available to the charities to use throughout the campaign. So if you have an event and you want to go to Give CFC, all the assets for the campaign are available for charities to download and to view and to use as a way to promote your campaign. So you're able to get graphics, be the face of change. All this material is available to the charities to download to promote the campaign. One of the things that the campaign does every week is it has a new cause week. So this week, I think it's human rights, global human rights, or I think we're in between global health and human rights. But there is information for charities to choose, which this will tell me. So December 6th is human rights. So we're in Human Rights Week right now, and the campaign does it by cause because it kind of refreshes the campaign each week, so federal employees know that their colleagues that they're forwarding CFC information to, they might be interested in supporting military service or military families, or they might be interested in supporting medical research. As that week comes up, we remind them of that and send them a message, and the charities have the ability to download and utilize all this information as they engage federal employees through the campaign. Ken, that Cause Week message is something that federal employees really appreciate. Kind of refreshes the campaign. You send them every week.
Yeah, and it, for the charity, it's literally, it gives a reminder to the federal worker or the potential individual that could pledge that, this week, CFC, we're back, for 14 weeks, the list, and it allows the momentum to keep up on the campaign. And so I send it out every week, and then my coordinators from each federal office send it out within their sector or within their offices, and it keeps the campaign fresh and in front. The great thing about the campaign for the charity is that we do most of the advertising and promotion of it. We want you to do as much as you can as a charity, but we do so much behind the scenes to make this a success for the federal worker who pledges, a success for the charities, and a success for obviously the individuals that want to support these charities through the combined federal campaign. So the cause weeks, we love them, and they resonate very well with the federal community.
There is a couple questions. There's a Ken Miller in there. So Ken Miller, there's a Ken Miller question. Can the donors search charities by area of service and by location? Yeah, when you go, the giving site, go to Give CFC, click on donate. I encourage everybody to go to find a charity and explore this site and what the parameters are, the search parameters. You can, if you want to do it by category. Now, these are my least favorite categories, folks. These are not categories that a marketing firm came up with. If you guys know what your NTEE codes are, those are the codes that you choose, that the IRS selected when you first got your 501c3. So you had to choose whether you were animal related. I'm not sure what that means. Not really, it doesn't sound like animal service. But these codes, in fact, it doesn't even say children, it says youth. So these are, but that's what they use, and people can search by healthcare, and you can do healthcare. And if you have that code, and we'll keep focusing on Alaska, you'll get the healthcare organizations in Alaska. So Ken Miller, yes, you can search by category of service and by location, even city, state, or that. The other question was, is there a way to send a thank you message? So absolutely, when you get those donor names for those 20%, we always say thank in the spring as soon as you get them and remind in the fall. But there is a component of your listing when you apply through the combined federal campaign that you can should submit. We strongly encourage you to submit what's called a care statement. All federal employees, or 85% of them these days, in fact, more and more, even there's a CFC app I'll talk about in a little bit that's actually challenging paper pledge cards now for more giving than paper pledge cards. But as soon as you give electronically through either your account at CFC Giving, and I have an account at CFC Giving because federal contractors give and I give, as soon as you give to those charities that you choose, and those are my, my account, my pledge, profile, transaction history. You can, you'll have what's called a care statement, and the care statement is something that you generate, you submit with your listing, and as soon as they give, they get your thank you automatically when you submit a care statement. So yes, there is, and that was from Tricia. Yes, there is the opportunity to thank donors, and then you, again, 20% of them will release their information, and you can thank them throughout the year. I hesitate. You guys are professional fundraisers. You would think, hey, I got these 20 names. Maybe I'd like to transition them off the CFC and have them give directly. I would wait until maybe they don't give to you the next year. These are people that give to you monthly. If you try to transition them to another kind of giving, they may resent it. So, and they typically say they do resent it. So these are folks that have given to you, they give to you monthly out of their payroll deduction. They see their CFC donation. So continue to give, encourage them to give. The average gift in the combined federal campaign is about $450. And that's the power of payroll deduction. And so, you want to continue to receive those gifts at that level. It's not a one-time $35 gift. So you want to keep them giving through the CFC because the power of payroll deduction. Kath, are there any other questions? Hi, David.
No, I haven't. Oh, just this
So
last
David,
one.
David, that's a good question. If you are a charity in the campaign and you have an account at cfccharities.opm.gov, you can always go to your account and ask the people at the CCA, the Central Campaign Administrator, if you can update the care statement. I would like to say, why not? But I also know it's a government program that has deadlines and they don't want people updating their care statement during the campaign. And so I would think that once their deadline passes, which is July 31st, that care statement is locked in for this year, and you'll have to do it again for next year. So David, I've been doing this for 30 years, been recruiting charities for nonprofit federations across the country and nationally. That is the number one thing that we know happens when a charity lapses, that somebody from your organization didn't get the handoff correctly and didn't apply this year. And one of the real strengths, I'm going to jump ahead, to this campaign is the account information that you have at your CFC Charity Administration site. When you go, I'm not showing that at my calf. When you go to this site, there is all your historical information from your organization. So when you invest the time this year to get your organization into the campaign, get listed and start raising pledges, you have a profile page that looks, this is just an older screenshot, that has all your application information, all your listing information, all your pledges, and all the donations and payouts from the campaign. So when you hand off your responsibilities, if you're moving on to another organization, or if you've already identified somebody in your organization that's going to take over the CFC responsibility, you give them access to this site, and all they have to do is click the details from your prior application, and all the information is there. So historically, your organization will lose no information, and it makes that handoff really valuable to your organization, to charities. There's no other workplace campaign in the country that has this kind of comprehensive reporting and transparency, because when I'll show you a few other slides regarding this site, but this site is a real value. We have a video. Kath, would you put the video for the your friend at the CFC?
Yes.
It's a short video. Put that in this, and you'll get. So Ben, you asked if our application fees required for each year's renewal. Yes, there's an application fee and a listing fee for each campaign year. Here are the application fees and listing fees for this year. It's based on organizations about whether, let me see if I can get my screen, because sometimes you can't read it too well. And Kath will you can put the memo in the chat to the fee memo. So local organization and what the application fee is for a local organization. It's unaffiliated. That means you don't come in with the federation, $340. And then a listing fee, depending on what your size of your organization is, and size is based on the size of your organization as reported on your IRS Form 990. So tier 1 organizations from $1 million or more, tier 2 from 250,000 to $1 million, and tier 3. And that's for the listing fees. So we appreciate, Ken and I appreciate, and Kathy, that is a commitment. $1,000 if you're over $1 million, $340 and $620. There's an active effort right now to reduce these fees, and the federal employees, when they made this change in 2017, made it for one reason. They were required by a blue ribbon panel to share costs with federal employees and their gifts with the charities, because there were 22,000 charities in the campaign in 2016. 60% of those charities didn't receive gifts. So there was this huge administrative burden that the campaign was having to carry each year, reviewing applications, setting up systems, et cetera. And so they wanted to put a kind of a market mechanism so charities would have to make the decision about whether to apply or not. They did, it worked, but it worked too well, because right now there's about 5,600 charities in the campaign. And we know that OPM is actively looking for ways to get charities back into the campaign. But the number one way they're going to do that is reducing charity fees. And they're looking at that for 2023. Although, and I appreciate everybody's input, and I'd like to have a conversation. Ken, want to turn it over to you for a little bit, talking about prospecting and what it costs to do these kind of reviews and get this kind of access. But we are aware that charity fees are a barrier to entry, not just a hurdle. And if that's your reason for not applying to the campaign, and you come away from this and say, we're not interested, please tell us, because we're sharing that information with the Office of Personnel Management. It's very important that they get that feedback. For smaller organizations, it's $14, and those middle-sized, it's $105 to get into the campaign. So, Ken, do you want to talk a little bit about what your views are on the fees and what the cost is versus what the return on investment is?
Sure. So some folks who know me on this call, and I see some of my Alaskan nonprofits, I've been doing this for 12 years. And I am also very, very involved in the fundraising world. And what we do in fundraising is we do a thing called acquisition. And what we're trying to do is acquire new donors to support our programs and what we do in the community. And so when I talk to individuals and charities in Alaska about joining the campaign, what I talk about is a return on investment, true. But I talk about the cost of acquiring new donors. And most, if not all, of your donors that will be coming in through the combined federal campaign will be new donors, will be new supporters of what you do in your community. Sometimes I get a little maybe facetious, but I say very simply, if you're under $250,000 and you can't afford $354 to acquire, the average donation is $445. I had 40 some nonprofits in my campaign last year. Every nonprofit got a donation. And I would say, I think it was 3 that didn't make their listing fee. That's it, 3 out of the 40. And we brought in literally $300,000 for 40 nonprofits. And so an acquisition, the industry standard for acquisition is that you want to make 75% of whatever you spend. That is a foundational aspect of prospecting for new donors. You want to make 75 to 80%, and you're broken even. And because then once they become into your donor database, the ability to retain them increases tremendously. So my thing is, if you're under $1 million, we're talking about $445. $445 for registration. I mean, that's application and listing. And then if you're above $1 million, it's $960. And if you're under $250,000, it's $354. So this is a question. You have budget, and you have to define what are we willing to put out for acquisition. I don't know anybody that does an acquisition mailer for like under $1,000. I do them all the time. So again, look at your return on investment, and what you're doing is 2 things. And I was talking to Mike earlier about this. Number one, you're bringing in unrestricted revenue. But number 2, you're also exposing your nonprofit or your charity to a community that probably has not had a lot of interaction with you, because you have the federal workers, you have active duty military, you have retired, and you have federal contractors that are all going to be seeing this message and have the opportunity to see your nonprofit presented, whether it's on the website, whether it's one of the videos, whether it's your story, or whether it's you participating in an event that that we do. We do these events and we ask charities. I got 2 of them in this week. I have 2 more next week. And there are events that I bring charities to so they can present their story to the federal community. To me, it's a no-brainer. That's to me. But of course, I respect any decision that your organization makes. That's why we're having this conversation. So we can present the facts and the numbers and give you an idea that this is a great opportunity for acquisition and also to put out the word and expose your nonprofit or charity to your local community and really the national community of federal workers, retirees, active duty military, and contractors. Good, Mike?
Yeah, thanks, Ken. So we also will be able to, if you're interested, shoot Kathy an email. Her email will be at the end, and we can look at some of your organizations, maybe peers around the country, and see how you do, see how those organizations do, and give you some framework, maybe general. I can't crystal ball this for you. I know, Ben, you were talking about, Sitka Trail Works might not be able to, gain enough in exposure. And I don't know how large you are. I don't know what the cost is going to be, but it's something to consider. That's why we're having the conversation. But one of the things that we like to, go back to is all you get from the campaign when it comes to the combined federal campaign and the services. We went through some of the marketing, we went through all the education and training that Ken does. And then just remember on this site, which we talked about a little bit, you're going to be able to see your giving and the amounts that you get from each. So this is the pledge data, where it shows pledges right here. You click view and you'll be able to see what the data is that you received. And again, you can see department, agency, office, the date, when the gift was made, and you can track all your pledges. And here's an example of a local organization out of Houston. They got gifts from Kansas City, Omaha, Oklahoma, North Texas, Northern California, Hawaii, etc. And that's the kind of exposure that the campaign gives to local nonprofits. And then you'll have this report, besides the one that has the general pledge data. You'll have all you'll be able to download. These are the people that release their information for the organization. And they provide this information. They'll give you, if they want to give you your home address, their email, etc. They can do all that. You can use that information to thank them and remind them. You also have complete transparency on what the payments are, how much each organization, what you receive monthly from the CFC, and what your pledges are. Again, no other workplace campaign has this kind of transparency. It was one of the primary goals with the combined federal campaign in 2016 to 2017, to have the ability to centralize reporting, to give charities this best in business reporting and transparency, and to be able to have what is very important. We talked about the kind of continuity for your organization in the campaign, because you can always go back to this site and get access to it, hand off your responsibilities from the combined federal campaign to your colleague, and make sure that you continue to participate in the campaign if it's something that's working well for you. So any other questions about fees? Would CFC consider reimbursing a charity the difference between their fee and actual donation? No, Tricia, there is no mechanism for that. The actual fees that go in to pay the campaign are the fee, or those upfront fees are the fees that pay for all the marketing and systems that and fundraising that goes on in the campaign, prior to the giving. So all these giving sites, all the events that Ken's talking about, all the materials that we showed at CFC, Give CFC. This is all information, or this is all data. This is all fundraising that's done on all the charities' behalf, and so there's no mechanism to fundraise or to reimburse. What they probably will do, yes, Steve, there is a distribution fee at the end of the campaign. lower than most. Last year, I think it was 17%. So if you look at any local United Way, they're running at about 25%. So you have some of those upfront fees and then the distribution fee at the end. That all varies, like with any distribution fee, on how much is raised in the campaign. You know, if the campaign goes from 80 to 100 million, distribution fee is going to be lower. But there is a distribution fee at the end that comes out of the back end. One of the plans, the considerations, and that's the way the campaign has always done it. Every workplace campaign does that. You know, there's no risk in any other workplace campaign, United Way, private sector campaign. There is a little bit with state employee campaigns because you have to register with the state before you can participate in the state employee campaign. So there's a little bit of that, but that cost is much less than the CFC. But every workplace campaign that you look into, any United Way campaign, I'll pull up. We can do it together. We'll pull up your local United Way Form 990, and you'll see anywhere from 25 to 40% is what their overhead is to run their campaign. And there is not the transparency that you get, the systems you get, the marketing you get, or the reach that you get to be part of the combined federal campaign nationally or on their national systems. So yeah, you know, Ken thinks it's worth it. I think it's worth it, but it's an individual. And one of the things that we're hoping to do is to reduce those upfront fees. Of course, if you reduce those upfront fees, you'll probably see a few percentage points on the back end go up because the fees are the fees. A national campaign that solicits 8 million people, 4 million federal employees, 4 million retirees. It's a big system. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of education, training, and marketing that goes on to raise what it looks like is going to be 85 or 90 million dollars this year. No, if every charity that applies is not accepted. So there is an application process. Let me get back to that slide. Application process, you go to CFC Charities. Let's see where can I go to these. So we talked a little bit about the giving, and this is the app. You go to search the App Store. That's the Charity Administration Center. We talked a little bit about that. The application process just started on December 1st. It's at CFC Charities. And what you would do is log in, start your account there. And in that process, you go through and submit all the materials. There's a waiting period. You have until January 31st is the initial deadline. There's a waiting period of a few months while federal employees review your application. And then they'll get back to you and let you know whether you've been approved or if there's more information necessary. So not every charity applies. It's not that difficult. And there is a lot of resources that I will walk you through, Kathy will walk you through to make sure you get the application process right. I think last year, the number of charities that didn't make it were less than 2% of the 5,600 that applied. So a majority, vast majority, significant majority go through. If you are not approved with the first round, you have a 2-week appeal period. We do multiple rounds of webinars, Q&As, going through all the application guidance resources that you have to make sure that if you're qualified, and that's kind of what I think we should, you know, next step in the conversation is you go on and look at and see what the application requirements are. Ken and I, one of our biggest complaints right now about the campaign that we're trying to change is to get them to lower their audit requirement. If you're an organization that's over $250,000, you need to have an audit. And OPM's looking very hard at that requirement. It's a regulatory change that hopefully they'll update. If you're between 100,000 and 250, they want you to have a review. That's even more of a head scratcher. So there are some requirements that may preclude organizations from qualifying. But if you do qualify, like I said, it's we have extensive resources, webinars, Q&As, materials, videos to make sure that you get all the information in correctly and that you're approved.
Michelle
Um,
had a question about the criteria for selection and what was it about the charities that weren't selected? I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah, Michelle, selection is not the word I'd use, it's eligibility. So there isn't any criteria. Every charity that applies, if they're eligible, they're approved. If you're not eligible, you're not selected. Some organizations, do better than others. If you're the Economic Policy Institute, you're not going to do as well as, feeding hungry children. That's just the nature of this kind of campaign and the way a workplace campaign, when you're doing searches, the majority of people will type in hunger before they type in economic policy, and they'll find a local charity that they want to support or a national charity that they want to support. So the campaign doesn't select any charities. The donors end up selecting charities to give to. The campaign approves every charity that's qualified and meets all the eligibility criteria and submits everything in a timely fashion.
Let's speak to that for real quick, because I think she might be saying something different. I could be wrong. I think she was talking about why were nonprofits not accepted after the application process. And I could be incorrect. If I'm not, I can still answer a question on that. So every year I will go out and solicit charities to be a part of the campaign. 95% of my charities sign up every year because they know it's a win-win-win for them. Then I'm always looking for new charities to join on board, and usually I'll lose one or two or three for different reasons. That's up to each charity why. The ones that apply that do not get accepted on the first round before the appeal process, the main reason that I have seen is their 990 is not signed. Literally, their 990 is not signed by the executive director, president, CEO. That's the main reason. That's my number one. And then there's other little ones outside of that, but I probably had 4 last year that didn't sign the 990. It was signed by the accountant or signed by because of the federal regulation, it needs to be signed by the head person, head individual of that organization, and it didn't sign it. So they came back and in the appeal process, sent that in with the correctly signed 990. And all the 4 that at least 3 or 4 that I had that didn't, they were all accepted after that. So that's give you an idea of why someone wouldn't be on the first. But usually I had maybe 60 that applied, and I ended up with 54. And I probably had 7 or 8 that didn't at first, and then it was 10 maybe, and then I had 4 more pick up, and it ended up 5 or 6 that did not either do the appeal. Or even when they did the appeal, I think I only had 1 or 2, and it was something like, next year we'll do it right, because they knew what they had done wrong, and they would make sure that they have that done correctly the next time.
Thanks, Ken. So I think we've covered everything, answered all your questions. I really appreciate the activity that's going on in the chat and the questions that people have asked. One thing, when you do start your account, if you choose to apply, make sure that you put in multiple email addresses. Even today, we're working with charities. Kath and I were working with a charity that had only put in 1 email, and that person wasn't available to get some of the official communications, because all the official communications from the Office of Personnel Management goes via email. And so if you only put in 1 and you're on paternity leave, or you're visiting a sick relative and you miss a day or 2, this can really affect your listing, your appeal process, and any communication that comes from the Office of Personnel Management. So make sure you have 2 accounts so you'll get all their communications. If you have any questions, there's the technical question that we talked about CFC charities. If you have any policy questions, I'll probably send you can ask me, but if I can't answer it or am not allowed to answer it, I'll send you to cfc@opm.gov. The Office of CFC is very helpful in getting policy questions answered. Policy question would be, is OPM going to change the audit requirement, or do I have to sign the 990? Can my accountant sign the 990? I can help you with a lot of those and show you where the resources are, where OPM gives you the answers. I'm not supposed to give you the answers. So what I do is just navigate you to OPM's answers and where they are, either in regulation on video or in presentations they've been giving. You can send me and Kathy an email at any time. And here's our email address and some contact information. And Kath will put it in the chat also. So with that, and 45 minutes of your time, I can't thank you enough for joining us, Ken. It's always great to talk with you. I know it's still dark in Alaska, so you're up and brought the enthusiasm and the information to your colleagues, and thanks so much for presenting. Ken has a huge event coming up with DOI. I told you that. It's going to be cross-zone nationwide. His campaign's doing really well this year. Campaign across the country is doing well. So it's always good to talk with Ken and get his input, his professional input. He's one of those professionals that CFC is just lucky to work with. And it's so great to have you on the team, Ken. Kath, thanks for jumping on. Everybody, thank you for coming. So Ken, do you want to say goodbye to your colleagues, and we'll wrap it up? Your peeps.
Yeah, my AFP colleagues. First of all, I just want to thank you for coming on board and for representing your charity in a positive way, and something that may be beneficial to your organization. And thank you for being a development professional. Again, I've been doing this for 12 years. AFP Global Board, AFP Chapter President, and this is a presentation we did just for AFP because I so believe in AFP and what we represent as a professional association of development professionals. And the last thing I'd like to say is that we will be doing 2 more of these presentations in January. If you need to come back, or if you want to bring somebody from your office, please feel free to send Kathy or Mike an email, and we'll get you on to the next one. We have 2 more in January. It'd be great if you have some people that may be a little hesitant within your organization, have them come on our next ones that we're doing in January, because the application period, again, officially closes January 31st, but we also have an extension, which we didn't talk too much about, that'll go into February at a higher listing application fee. So again, I just want to thank you for what you do, and thank you for what your organization does in its community. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Kathy and Mike. And if it's something I can help out on, they'll send it on to my way. And hopefully I'll meet you someday at AFP Icon. I'm always at the international conference. And also, hopefully I'll be able to see you on one of these upcoming calls or cross-zone charity events or something else. So again, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Ken. Talk to you later. All right.